Hello, my name is Michael Barbour, and I'm an associate professor of instructional design in the College of Education and Health Sciences at Touro University of California in Vallejo, California. In this video, we're going to explore how we can create interaction for students in an asynchronous distance learning environment. When we think about interaction, there are a number of different ways in which we can talk about it. One of the most common to look at is how different types of interaction may occur in a distance or online learning environment. Longtime editor of the American Journal of Distance Education, Michael Moore was one of the first to describe his three types of interaction. Moore's framework, which was conceived in 1989, reflected the reality at the time that in a distance learning setting, the learner interacts with the content. And if we think about this through an asynchronous lens, this could include printed media, such as a textbook or course packet, or the online content, such as a recorded video. The learner also interacts with the instructor. Again, from an asynchronous perspective, this could include announcements, emails, or other messages posted by the instructor, or feedback that's provided on submitted work. Finally, the learner interacts with other students, which could be accomplished in a discussion forum, a wiki, or by blogging. Later, Hillman and his colleagues built upon Moore's original framework by adding the reality that in most online learning environments, the learner also interacts with the interface or the learning management system that they are taking their courses through. So while not necessarily instructional in nature, how easy is it to navigate the interface, or is there a common look and feel between courses? More recently, Sutton has added a fifth type of interaction, vicarious interaction, or the interaction that occurs when someone is watching others interact but does not engage themselves. As online learning incorporates more tools that allow for individuals to publicly interact with each other, vicarious interaction becomes even more important as individuals lurk the interactions of others, such as watching the instructor interacting with a group of students in a discussion forum. Instructors need to consider each of these types of interactions when thinking about the kinds of asynchronous activities that they ask their students to complete. However, it isn't just the types of interaction that instructors need to consider. Instructors also need to consider the focus or content of those interactions. As such, it is important to also be aware of the taxonomy or categories of interaction outlined by Hyman. The first was intellectual or instructional interactions, which were essentially interactions that were related to the course content in some way, shape, or form. The second was organizational or procedural, which were the interactions that were focused upon the logistics or processes that come with being a student in an online course. Finally, the third was social interactions, which were those interactions that were designed to support the student or encourage the student to try to create a connection with the student outside of the course content. As you might imagine, most of the interactions that take place in an online course tend to be instructional or procedural in nature, but it is these social interactions that would allow the students to truly see their teachers as real people. And the intellectual or instructional interactions that actually focus on the content of the course. Oftentimes, when instructors begin to teach at a distance, it is easy to provide synchronous instruction because it is often quite consistent with what we do in our face-to-face classrooms. However, as you can see from this image created by Catlin, a California-based author and consultant, there are a number of different types of asynchronous activities that instructors can incorporate into their distance learning. Groshell, a director of educational technology in Washington State who maintains a blog called Educational Rickshaw, provides several suggestions on how these asynchronous tools could be sequenced into different learning activities that would represent approximately an hour of instruction if they were undertaken in a classroom environment. And there is much online advice on how instructors can provide initial asynchronous content to support synchronous learning if one were to search for examples of flipped learning in their particular subject area. As instructors investigate these different distance learning tools and how they can be used for various asynchronous learning activities, it is important to remember the 5 different ways that students can interact in a distance environment, as well as the 3 types of interaction that often occur. It is critical that instructors make sure that they vary the student experience across these different types and taxonomies of interaction. The other key question that instructors need to consider is, what does the real-time interaction with the instructor or their fellow students add to the student learning experience? If the answer to that question is nothing, then that particular interaction can be taken just as effectively in an asynchronous format. Oftentimes, the asynchronous format is actually much more convenient for the student anyway.